This is actually what I need. I need to be painting more than I need to be sleeping because it feeds me, it keeps me calm. So much of my painting is about expressing the joys of life and finding the beauty in life, even in times of struggle or hardship. All these stages that we go through in our lives it's been so gratifying and empowering to be able to make work through those times and commit myself to making work, and then years later to look back on that work. Hi, welcome. My name is Schmitz, and this is my painting studio. For me, it's been this thing that I've been doing for like all of my life in terms, I had parents that were both artists. They weren't professional artists, but they were, they're both really artistic and creative and talented. I feel fortunate in that I kind of found my calling, so to speak, or knew early on what I wanted to do. The fact that I did have artistic parents, I was always interested in the arts. So by the time that I was in college, part of my decision making and choosing a college was based on choosing a college where I could major in art and also play Division I field hockey. Everything that I make is invented, so it's not like I'm looking at a picture and trying to make a painting look like something. It's more so about letting the painting slowly develop. And a lot of what involves that is just problem solving, adding layers, developing the color, and then standing back away from the work and kind of asking myself the question of what is the painting actually doing and what does it need? I actually have to paint. I need to be painting more than I need to be sleeping because it feeds me, it keeps me calm, it keeps me, if I'm not painting, I almost feel more anxious if I'm not working. It's a career that I've kind of been dedicating myself to for a long period of time, that the more time that goes by also makes it more of this thing that I know that I could never not do. The more that you commit yourself to working at something and developing yourself and your skill set and whatever it may be, the more invested the more you invest in something, the more it becomes this thing that you're not willing to give up. Going through a divorce, becoming a single mom was a terrifying time for me because I was oh shit, I actually have to keep the roof. I have to all these costs that I was once shared with the person, I now have to cover, and I have to keep the roof over my head and my children's get food on the table and all this stuff where my art is my livelihood. That it made me instead of giving up, say, on my art because I was scared that I wasn't going to make enough money, it actually forced me to kick things into gear even more so. My daughter, Winslow, who's now 7, after I had her, I took, she was born in October, I took 3 months off of painting in the studio. But when my twin boys were born, I took only 2 weeks off. And then ironically, having more limited time in the studio to paint actually became beneficial in a way. I had shorter stints in my studio that it actually made me be able to have fresh eyes on the work more, and taking breaks was actually beneficial for me. What initially seemed like a detriment to my studio practice ironically ended up becoming my studio practice actually benefited from. I do what I do, because I have to, and I do what I do. I've dedicated my life to this thing that I'm passionate about and matters to me. I often will look at the painting from different orientations and I rotate it. I often also paint on the floor for a couple different reasons. One being larger, I can walk around the work and work at it from different angles. I'll look at the work from a distance and then I slowly, eventually, always at a museum, especially paintings that I love, I get up super close to the work because I don't don't know, there's something about this kind of intimate experience when you get up close to the work and you can see an artist's brush strokes. When I'm painting, I usually prepare my palette with a series of colors. It's a process of mixing these colors and kind of looking at the painting. My goal is to have like a family of colors. You know, I'm working with cool colors here, shades of blue. Making sure that they're relating. I think that like a lot of people have this romantic notion of being an artist and a creative. It's hard work and it's like not easy, and it requires a commitment and sacrifices, but it's also, I think what it comes down to it is like when you're doing what you love and what you're passionate about, everything's worth it. I came to a certain point where my painting practice was so important that I really had to structure my life to support that thing. And so I think that we all have to make our own decisions as to like what compromises you're willing to make in your own life based on what makes you happy. You know, for me, I realized early on that like it's not important to me like to try to keep up with the Joneses. Being an artist, like for me, it meant having adequate daylight hours to paint because the natural light is so important for me in terms of being able to read color accurately. That meant like for most of my 20s waiting tables at night so that I could paint during the day. So like all of the decisions that I've made have been to support my painting practice. Right now it's all predominantly dark and it's all predominantly cool, but the underpainting is warm. And so part of my thoughts about painting is like for everything that I add, I'm always thinking about how to integrate it into what was there before. And so I'm basically thinking about how to move through space with color. Being able to draw into the canvas also helps me find the space and just work intuitively. For me, painting is this back and forth process of disengaging the thinking brain and working super intuitively and just allowing my body to make the marks and responding to that, and then standing back away from the work, looking at it, seeing what's happening, asking myself, what does the painting need? Prior to painting abstractly, like I always had a really kind of concrete idea before I started painting. Like especially painting the landscape, like I kind of pre-planned everything out. And so the concept of just playing and making marks on the surface of the canvas and not really having a plan and was something that was very foreign to me. And so I just started mixing colors that I loved. And then I just started painting over an old painting and painting abstractly. And it was like exhilarating and exciting, but simultaneously terrifying to me because I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like this is scary for me. It was completely out of my comfort zone. That I remember having this moment thinking, oh my God, I'm so scared of this and so engaged by this, that this is like, it was this realization of like, this is what I need to do. Like if this is so uncomfortable for me, but also so interesting to me, and I'm feeling terrified because I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, and you know, like I don't have all the answers. I'm like a lot of problem solving and figuring it out, and it was this realization for me. It was like, this is what I need to do, clearly. And so that's when my work became more abstract. And for me, I find that like I find so much meaning from what I do that I don't know, like it makes me even like cope with hard times better, and it makes me be able to look at life reflectively and find meaning in my life. I'm glad that it's not easy because it's much more satisfying when things are a challenge than it being easy, I think. Like we wouldn't be doing what we would, I don't know, like I find like the most interesting things in life or the most engaging activities or things that we engage in like are just more enjoyable and more engaging and more meaningful when they're kind of hard.